Hello, 8th graders. Miss Chenlow here. I'm going to take a few minutes to go over what we did in class today. We are reviewing writing an equation in slope-intercept form from 2 points. Okay, the handout that you were given before you left school looks like this. So if you could please take that out. It is titled Equation of a Line. Okay, and while you're doing that, I want you to know that at any time in this video, you can pause and go through the next few problems on your own and then come back and check your answers with me. So know that that's an option. All right. While you're taking this handout out still, I'm going to read through the top 3 steps written up at the piece of paper you have. It's cut off a little bit, so I'm going to kind of read through them. Step 1 says to find the slope, or m. Step 2 says to pick an ordered pair and substitute it in with the slope. And then step 3 says to write a new equation. So number 1 is done here for you, okay? So you can kind of follow along there as we keep going. I'm going to start with number 2. Now, I did write here off to the side for step 1, find the slope. We know that m is our slope, and to find that from 2 ordered pairs here, we're going to take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I'm going to start with in number 2 is I'm just going to label my x1, y1, my x2, and my y2. So this is my first ordered pair. So I'm going to label this x1 and y1. 4 comma negative 5 is my second ordered pair. So I'm going to label this x2 and y2. Now that I have these ordered pairs labeled, I can just substitute or plug in the values. So I have my y2, which is negative 5. I'm going to subtract y1, which is 0. So that's the top. Over my x2, which is 4, okay, minus my x1, which is negative 1. So I have 4 minus negative 1 on the bottom. Okay, so when I solve this to find the slope, I'm going to get negative 5 over 5, which really reduces or simplifies down to negative 1. Okay, so I've just found my slope, my m. So negative 1 equals m. I'm going to kind of box that so I know to use it later. We have found our slope. That was step 1. Okay, step 2 says to pick an ordered pair and substitute it in with the slope. You may use either ordered pair. It does not matter. Sometimes it's easier to use the ordered pair with smaller numbers or without negatives. Unfortunately, both of these have a negative, so either one works. Take your pick. I'm going to use the first ordered pair just because the numbers are smaller. So negative 1 and 0. So I'm going to plug in, this is my x value, this is my y value. I'm going to plug those in to my slope-intercept form, which is already written over here for me, y equals mx plus b. I am now solving for b. I'm trying to find the y-intercept. So my y value is 0. I'm going to plug that in for y. So 0 is equal to, m is my slope, we just found that, so negative 1 times, what is my x value? My x value is also negative 1. And then I'm solving for b, so plus b. I now have an equation that I can solve. So when I do this, negative 1 times negative 1 is just going to give me 1. So I'm going to rewrite this. I know it's going to get a little crowded here, but 0 equals 1 plus b. All right, I'm trying to isolate b to solve for b. I can solve here, take away 1 on both sides to get b by itself. And I see that. I'm going to write it next to it here. B is equal to negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to box that too so I can use it. So I've now completed step 2. All right, step 3 is to write the new equation. So I now have my slope, or my m, and I now have my y-intercept, or my b value. I can rewrite it just like we did here in number 1 in y equals mx plus b form. So y is equal to, my slope is negative 1 x minus 1. There's my new y equals mx plus b equation. Okay, and I'm going to circle my final answer since there's a lot of work here that we're showing to complete this problem. So let's look now at number 3. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to start by finding the slope. We're going to find m by y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's do that. Let's plug in our values. If it's helpful for you to label these points, I encourage you to continue to do so. Your x1, your y1, your first ordered pair, your x2, your y2, your second ordered pair. And now we're just going to substitute or plug those values in. So we have negative 2 minus 5 over negative 2 minus 5. What does that equal? We're trying to find our slope. Well, plugging it in or using your calculator, whatever you're doing, negative 7 over negative 7. We know that that can reduce, and we always want our slope in simplest form. So yes, 7 over 7 is going to reduce to 1. Notice here I have 2 negatives, right? Negative divided by a negative is a positive. So my slope here is just going to be 1. So I'm going to box 1 equals m. That's my slope. And now again, you can use either ordered pair. So I'm going to use the first ordered pair again, 5, 5, just because they're both positive, but you can definitely use the second ordered pair as well. So now let's plug it in. We have an x and a y, and we're plugging it back into y equals mx plus b, so we can solve for b. So my y value is 5 is equal to, my slope is 1, times my x value is also 5, and I'm adding b, or I'm looking for b. 1 times 5 gives me 5, so I can rewrite this equation. 5 equals 5 plus b. When I take away 5 from both sides, again, it gets a little crowded here, so I'm going to write it off to the side. B is equal to 0, and I'm going to box that there. Okay, these 5s are going to cancel. And now we can rewrite our equation, our y equals mx plus b, using our values. So we see that m is 1 and b is equal to 0. So y equals 1x. Now, you could have wrote y equals 1x plus 0. That would still be correct, but you can simplify it to write y equals 1x. Okay, I'm going to do number 4 with you next. If you're feeling comfortable and confident, go ahead and try number 4. Otherwise, let's go through this one together. Okay, same process here. We're going to solve for m, or find our slope first. So we're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have 3 minus 8 over 1 minus 2. When I solve, I'm going to get negative 5 over negative 1, which is going to reduce, right? 5 over 1 is just going to give me 5, and we know that it's positive because we have 2 negatives here, so it's going to cancel. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. So 5 is equal to m. That is our slope. You can now pick an ordered pair to plug in. So I'm going to use this second pair. I'm going to use 1, 3 this time. So I'm going to label, this is my x, this is my y. Y is equal to 3, so I'm going to plug that into y equals mx plus b. So 3 is equal to 5, which is my slope, times my x value of 1, and then I'm adding b. I'm solving for b. So let's simplify here. So 3 is equal to 5 plus b. Taking away 5 from both sides to solve for b, b is going to be equal to negative 2. I can now rewrite my equation. So y is equal to 5 is our slope, so 5x minus 2. Our y-intercept there is minus 2. Okay, and I circle my final answer, or my final equation. Okay, so we have now gone through 2, 3, and 4 together. I would like for you to pause the video and try 5, 6, 7, and 8 on your own. Okay, so I'll give you some time to work through that, and then when you come back, we can check our answers together. Okay, so go ahead, take some time, push pause. All right, welcome back. So let's go through 5, 6, 7, and 8. Here are your answers. So let's talk through these, okay? So number 5, we are solving for m first, trying to find that slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we get negative 8 minus negative 3 over 6 minus 7. Okay, we find that our slope is 5, and when we plug in, again, you can use either pair, but I use the first ordered pair, 7, negative 3, and I found the b value to be negative 38. So my equation is y equals 5x minus 38. Looking at number 6, okay, we have our slope of negative 8 over 12. However, that can be reduced, so make sure that's in simplest form. Your m is negative 2/3. I use the ordered pair negative 3, 7, but you could use the first one as well. So I plugged in my y value of 7 equals negative 2/3, my slope, times my x value of negative 3, and I'm adding b. Okay, then I'm solving for b, and I find that b is equal to 5. So my equation then, plugging in the things that I found, my slope and my y-intercept, y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 5. Let's look now here at number 7, okay? We find that our slope is equal to negative 5/9. That could not be reduced. And I used the ordered pair 0, 1, so the second ordered pair, and I plugged in my slope and my x and my y to find b has a value of 1. Okay, now I can take my m and my b and plug it in. So y equals negative 5/9 x plus 1. And then lastly, for number 8, I am going to find my slope is equal to negative 1, okay? Negative 2 over 2 reduces there. And I used the ordered pair negative 7, negative 4, that first one. And I found that b is equal to negative 11. So when I plug in or make my equation, y is equal to negative 1x minus 11. All right, nice job there. Please look down at the bottom of the page. So you're looking at part B here, okay? We're going to do kind of the same thing, except in a little bit different form. So we are going to find the equation of the line passing through the point. So now we just have a little bit of some extra words here, but we need to do the same thing. It's going to be the same process. So we are going to first start by finding m, or finding your slope. So your points, here, let me label them. We can now find m by y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to substitute those points in, or those numbers. So 1 minus 2 over 9 minus 7 is going to give me m. 1 minus 2 is going to give me negative 1 over 9 minus 7 gives me 2. So negative 1/2 is my m value there. Now that I have m, I can pick a point to plug in so I can solve for b. So I'm going to choose the first point, which is 7, 2, and I'm going to plug in the x and the y values there. So y is equal to 2, so 2 equals, my slope I just found is negative 1/2, and I'm going to multiply that by my x value, which my x value here is 7, and then I'm going to add b. So when I simplify this, I'm going to get 2 is equal to negative 3.5 plus b. Okay, add 3.5 to both sides, and we are going to find that b is equal to 5 1/2 there. So I'm going to circle this so I can use it for my final equation. We've now found m and b, the slope, so we can plug those in to our equation. So y is equal to m, our slope, negative 1/2 x plus 5 1/2 is b. So there's our equation for number 1. All right, let's look at the last one here, number 2 for part B. This one we got to think through a little bit because it does give us some hints. So let's be thinking about what we already know. So find the equation of the line that cuts the x-axis at x equals negative 6 and the y-axis at y equals negative 4. Okay, let's think this through. If it's hitting the x-axis at negative 6, that means that the ordered pair for that point is negative 6, 0. That is the x-intercept, right? So it would be hitting at negative 6. It would be way over there. I realize that's not drawn to scale, but just a little visual for you. And now think this through. The y-axis, it's getting cut at y equals negative 4. So on a graph here, negative 4, your y-axis, right, would be here. Again, not drawn to scale, but just a visual for you. Those are your intercepts where it's cutting the axis. So as an ordered pair, that y is going to be 0, negative 4. And then let's think that through. What do we know when it hits the y-axis? Well, that is your b value. Okay, that's your y-intercept. So b is really equal to negative 4. So we know that. We don't have to solve for b. So what we really just need to do is solve for m. We got to find our slope. So we're able to do that the same way, using y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Same way we've been using it for numbers 1 through 8 up above. So let's plug in those values. So negative 4 minus 0 over 0 minus negative 6. And what do we get? Well, we get negative 4 over 6, but we know that that can be reduced to negative 2/3, which is our m value. So I'm going to circle that so I can use it. And I know my m and my b now, so I can plug those in and make my final equation. So I'm going to write that here in the middle, even though it's a little crowded. So y equals m is negative 2/3, and my b value is negative 4, my y-intercept. So my equation is y equals negative 2/3 minus 4. That is my final equation there. All right, we have now completed the equation of a line handout, which is what we did in class today. So please reach out if you have any questions. Reach out to your teachers. We're here to help you. We hope you're doing well. We miss you. We can't wait to see you soon. All right, great job today.